and welcome to episode 2 of the Energy Question with David Blackmon. I'm your host, David Blackmon. Today's special guest is leader and innovator in the renewable energy mineral space, Teague Egan, the founder and CEO of Austin-based EnergyX. Teague, how are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good, David. Thanks for having me.
Hey, man, thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. Before we get into the meat of this discussion, just for the benefit of our viewers, tell our folks about the technology your company is developing. The lithium extraction technology and the battery technology you're working on. That's going to be, I think, such a difference maker in the lithium space.
Yeah, absolutely. So I started EnergyX back in 2018. And at the time, the thesis of the company was that there was a massive imbalance in lithium supply versus demand. There was way more demand than there was supply. Now, when you ask yourself why that was the case, you can narrow the reason down to the methods of manufacturing for lithium were outdated, antiquated, and with the transition to electric vehicles, we essentially overnight needed 10, 20x more lithium than was being produced. And the current methods of manufacturing couldn't produce lithium fast enough.
Right.
So there needed to be a paradigm shift in the way that lithium was produced. And that was the original problem that we set out to solve. The answer, in a kind of coined term, is called direct lithium extraction, or DLE is the acronym, right?
Right.
And once we started researching and developing technology that was direct lithium extraction, which is kind of a step change, we started looking at the entire lithium supply chain. And it's not like you just get lithium out of the ground and it's ready to use in a battery. There's actually a lot of refinery steps along the way to get it from out of the ground to being battery ready. And we started to realize the inefficiencies along that whole supply chain. So direct lithium extraction is kind of when you take it out of the ground, it comes in a liquid brine form. It's salty water. Lithium is a salt that's found in the water. And you need to separate it away from all of the other salts that are also dissolved in the water, which are, for instance, magnesium, sodium. Sodium chloride is like your table salt. Lithium looks the exact same as table salt. It's just a different atomic structure. But DLE, direct lithium extraction, is separating the lithium away from all these other salts that are found in the aqueous brine. We also realize that there's innovation and optimization that can happen further in the refinery process. So we've started developing a portfolio of lithium extraction and refinery technologies. And it's actually quite timely because 4 years ago, I was looking at this problem and thinking that it was going to develop into a big problem and essentially be the bottleneck that is holding back companies like Tesla from producing Cybertruck or things like that. And Elon actually went on record a few weeks ago saying that lithium refining is like a passport to print money, which is pretty funny. So timing is everything in life, and
yeah, you're hoping it works out that way, right?
Yeah, right.
Well, so yes, and you're working on this at least with the extraction technology, right? Aren't you engaged in a partnership with the University of Texas Labs there in Austin?
Yeah, so we originally licensed our core technology from the University of Texas that was in a partnership with 2 other institutions, the University of Monash out of Melbourne and CSIRO, the Australian National Laboratory. So those 3 institutions, 2 of which are academic, one is like the national laboratory, we're working on lithium selective materials and membranes. Back in 2018, I identified this technology through reading an academic paper in one of these journals, and subsequently executed a license with the University of Texas that was managing that relationship, and EnergyX licensed out 4 patents from the University of Texas. Today, we have over 50 patents, and we still have a great relationship with Texas, and are pushing forward on developing lithium selective membranes as one of our technologies to address direct lithium extraction.
So a year ago, it's been a year since I came down and toured your facilities in Austin. I didn't realize that until today. You told me this fascinating story about when and where you were when the idea for this technology and your company came to you. I thought it'd be fun to relate that to our viewers.
Yeah, so it's actually ironic. We've now been in this facility that you visited for 1 year and 1 month. We moved in June of, yeah, you were like one of our first visitors.
Yeah.
It's totally, but yeah, so we've been here, well, I guess 1 year and 2 months now. We moved in the beginning of June of 2021. You know, there was nothing in here. We basically built out the lab.
Yeah.
Now we're looking at expanding to a facility that's 40,000 square feet. So about 5 times bigger than what we have right now.
Wow. Is that in Austin too, I guess?
Yeah, it's actually right next door. It's just a bigger building.
Oh, fantastic.
Moving won't be too hard. But equally ironic, I just went down to Argentina. I've been to Argentina several times, but not to the salt flats that are in the mountainous Andean region. The way that I conceptualized the idea for EnergyX was based off a trip to Bolivia, visiting their salt flat, which is the world's largest salt flat.
Yeah, the energy triangle, right? Or the lithium triangle.
Lithium triangle. So
Yeah.
the lithium triangle is made up of 3 countries: Bolivia and the southern parts of Bolivia, the northern parts of Chile, and the northern parts of Argentina. So it's like right in there if you're looking at South America. And the reason that it's called that is because this is where the Andean mountain range goes through the continent. And it's about 14 to 16,000 feet of elevation. And through really hundreds of millions of years, these volcanic formations formed mountain range, and then rain would fall, and they created these huge salt flats.
Yeah.
Just like, I mean, the one in Bolivia is 4,000 square miles of just a prehistoric dried up lake that is now, you can see it from space. It's like a big white dot if you're looking at South America. And this is turned into the world's largest lithium reserve. And I'm on this tour, and our tour guide starts telling our group this. And this was the beginning of 2018. And I've been driving a Tesla since 2013. And I'm just thinking to myself, oh my gosh, like, this is going to be the next Saudi Arabia. Like, we are going to need so much more lithium to build these electric vehicles. I love my Tesla. I know a lot of other people are going to love Teslas. I think that all the other auto manufacturers are going to start making electric vehicles, and batteries and battery materials are going to be the shortage and the bottleneck.
Right.
And this is the world's you're telling me this is the world's largest lithium reserve, and Bolivia is not producing lithium from it? Like, that to me, like, was, I mean, it's even hard to put into words. Like,
It's an
that's
eye opener,
the
isn't
biggest opportunity I've ever seen.
Well, it's crazy. And of course, you talk about the demand. I mean, the IEA last year said we're going to have to have a 900% increase in supply by 2030, and a 40x, 4,000% times increase in lithium supply by 2040. So it's just this enormous run up in demand and supply for lithium that's got to happen here in just a few years. I hear just recently in early August, your company announced, you're a startup, obviously, looking for funding and working on that. And you recently announced this big funding milestone with a $450 million commitment from the Global Emerging Markets Group. So tell us about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's really an exciting announcement that we've been working on for about 9 months. Global Emerging Markets is a private equity firm that focuses on emerging markets, and Bolivia, obviously being an emerging market. Same with kind of some of the other South American countries that have the world's largest lithium supplies and are looking to become major producers of lithium. So for us, we started talking to them based on that premise, and it was a really good fit for the type of investments and investment commitments that they look to make. So we did a deal where they will invest $450 million of equity into our business upon a go public event. So once we list our company on a major exchange, whether that be a US exchange like the NASDAQ or New York Stock Exchange, or maybe the Toronto exchanges, which, there's the TSX, Toronto Stock Exchange, or the CSE, the Canadian Stock Exchange, or the Australian Stock Exchange, then we have access to those funds. And that's, a really big vote of confidence in us, and will give us the ability to scale and commercialize. So now we're working diligently in that process and considering different options to potentially take the company public so that we can access those funds.
Yeah. So when we talk about lithium and its importance to the energy transition, and I've been guilty of this myself, I think a lot of times the media focuses on the role lithium plays currently in the electric vehicles market. But it also, lithium ion battery technology is important in other parts of all this effort as well. I mean, it's right now, it's really kind of the dominant battery technology in terms of backup for renewable energy, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, lithium ion battery chemistry it's the best battery chemistry that we have today, right?
Yeah,
It holds the most energy, and it's the lightest, which is really important for mobility. In terms of stationary storage, you don't actually need it to be super light. So there are other chemistries and other types of energy storage that people are thinking about. But when you start developing an industry, there's a huge supply chain that goes into that, right? And if people are building gigafactories that are purposed to build lithium ion batteries, then you might as well use them for all the different applications that take batteries,
right,
right?
right.
So lithium battery chemistry has, it's been being developed since 1982 when Dr. John Goodenough invented the lithium ion battery, and it's taken the lead in a major way. I mean, there are other alternatives like hydrogen fuel cells and things, but
Right.
I think that lithium has asserted itself as the option of choice, and is here to stay for the long run.
So when I was down there a year ago, toured your lab as well as your facility, your office facility, and your showroom as well, and you were then engaged in fairly early stages of a set of pilot projects down there in South America, I believe that's right. And I just wanted, I know you've progressed since then, and if to the extent you can talk about them and share some details related to the pilot projects, wanted to give you a chance to do that as well.
Yeah, so we shipped our first pilot plant to Bolivia at the beginning of this year. Well, we shipped it late last year, and it arrived early this year. And then we commissioned it and operated it in a pilot program with them continuously for about 4.5 months. That gave us tremendous, I mean, there is such a big difference in doing lab tests
Right.
on bench scale that are in a controlled environment that you do for a few days or a week, and having something that is in the salt flats in the corrosive, harsh environments that you're operating 24/7 for 5 consecutive months.
Right.
That is just night and day difference. So we did that and we got that under our belt, and we got tremendous results. We actually exceeded our expectations. It's always kind of good to under promise but over deliver.
Exactly.
But we hit a 94. So traditionally in the conventional methods, going back to what we were discussing earlier, the conventional methods of these evaporation ponds typically recover 30 to 40% of the available lithium.
And they take months and months for all the evaporation to take place, right? I mean, it's a long extended period of time.
And in places like Bolivia, that percentage is even lower, just because technical challenges with their brine chemistry and things like that. We did our pilot plan and achieved a 94% recovery rate. So if you think about what that means in terms of the economics, tripling the output.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, it was phenomenal. So we got really good data from that, and we've built several bigger units that we're now in conversations with other customers, both in South America and North America, on deploying pilots to their sites. The thing about lithium extraction is that every brine is different. The lithium concentration in the brine, like if you have 1% of lithium or 3%, that's actually a huge difference. 3x difference, really. But it's more like you have 0.05% lithium, or like there can be a huge variability in that. There can also be huge variability in what the other salts are that you need to separate lithium away from. And that plays into which technology we use to separate and refine the lithium.
Right.
So we have several more planned pilots that we're hopefully going to announce soon that we've been working very hard on. Yeah, I mean.
So you want to break news? You planning to take the company public anytime soon?
I mean, you know, a rough timeline might be 2024, but there's certainly no guarantees or anything like that around it. You know, people can go right now to our website and invest in EnergyX, which is a
talk about that. Yes.
Yeah. So we're a pre-IPO company, right? Hopefully we'll be a unicorn pretty soon. But people can go to our site and invest in EnergyX through crowdfunding platforms, and anybody can invest as little as $500 and own shares of the company that will hopefully be exponentially more valuable upon a public transaction. So that's kind of a cool feature that we've done. And there's no guarantee that we go public. Obviously that's the goal.
Sure.
You know, but it's everybody here is working really hard to get there.
Well, Teague, I really appreciate, I know we're kind of bucking up against the hard stop here, but I really appreciate you taking the time to chat with me again. I want to keep up with you, and as events warrant, get you back on here from time to time and talk to you about the progress your company's making. I just, you know, from the first time I read about your company a year ago, I thought, man, this is exactly the kind of innovation that's going to happen to make this energy transition happen. Because obviously with just a 30% recovery rate and the months and months in time the evaporative process takes, you know, it's just not going to get there without these kinds of technology innovations. So I really appreciate you always agreeing to talk to me whenever I ping you with an email, and wish you the best of luck going forward.
Thanks, David. Awesome talking to you.
All right, man. Take care.